And a very good morning from the UK. Late tea time podders around the world. Very good to see you all. I was doing some stats the other day on our new website, lateteatime.com, and we've got as many viewers and listeners in USA as we have in the UK, according to the statistics. So good to see you across the pond. Good to see you in the UK, everybody. And good morning. And hello to Dave Tindall. DT, how are you?
I'm good. Did we do a pod last week? I can't remember. I was in Oslo, wasn't I?
You were, and you did something from there, didn't you? Or you
My
did
Oslo,
something.
Oslo water bottle.
You did something where it was you just talking to camera,
Yes, that's right. Yes.
and we had a situation, I think, where we were nearly landing the 8-1 treble.
Oh, was it that? It was
Yeah, I think so.
Scotty Scheffler hold a 41-foot putt to ruin it on the last hole.
Oh. I imagine for as many people that he's satisfied by, favourite backers being very happy with Scotty Scheffler, he's also coming from behind and ruined a few people's bets along the way as well.
He did last Sunday. Yeah, that was a gut punch, that one.
Anyway, today we are looking at the BMW Championship. Take a look at lateteatime.com as well. Just before we get into it, me and DT went into our studio. It's a sports broadcast media production. We went into the studios and did a few little additional things the other day. If you've been looking at the Twitter feed and YouTube channel, you'll already see that DT's answered the late tea time quick questions. Some fun answers, some slightly deeper than others, but you'll see DT's one there. Mine's coming. We've also had a little bit of a throw ahead to the Augusta Masters next year as well, kind of long range chat. And we've talked about the late tea time pod and all sorts of things. So there's a few extras, bells and whistles coming along the way. Courtesy of manscaped.com, who are our sponsors of the Late Tea Time podcast. If you go on their site, manscaped.com, and you like what you see, quote late when you check out, and you will get 20% off and you will get free shipping. Good to see manscaped.com and the Late Tea Time podcast. But anyway, let's get into this week's pods. BMW Championship. You'll see the prices ahead of round 4 going across the bottom of the screen. Keegan Bradley 11-4, Adam Scott 7-2, Ludwig Oberg 7-2 as well, Alex Noren 13-2, Xander is 12-1, Wyndham Clark 22s, Rory out to 80-1, and the rest are obviously a little bit bigger. Some are incredibly big because they're a long way off the lead. But Keegan Bradley leading DT. I know you've got a couple of outright picks, and then we've got a bit of a treble, two-ball treble to come as well. But in terms of the outrights, Keegan Bradley obviously playing well, but is there anybody on his shoulder you fancy?
Well, it was a funny round. Obviously, this is at altitude in Colorado, so you're getting some weird clubs. I mean, the total yardage is over 8,000 feet, so 8,000 yards.
That's a long way.
And obviously, the altitude means it's not playing that long, but you have to make all these club adjustments to try and work it out. And it's clearly confusing people. And you see players getting on these bad runs. So even the three leaders, they had real sort of glitches in their rounds yesterday. Bradley had 3 bogeys in a row. Adam Scott had a terrible start. Oberg had a big blip at one point. So it could be an interesting final round, because I think if someone could just hold it together, I think these 3 leaders, well, Alex Noren is there as well, isn't he? Of course. Yeah. They can be reeled in, I think. I just think it takes somebody to just hit their numbers and put a bit of leaderboard pressure on, maybe post a number and these guys at the top. Because if you look at Bradley's not a great front runner. He's only won 1 time out of 6 when leading after 54 holes. Adam Scott hasn't won for 4.5 years on the PGA Tour. Oberg, who he thinks just kind of a bit of a machine and wins a lot, hasn't won in 2024. So they're not impregnable, these leaders. So my temptation is to look a bit further down.
Just before you get into that, I haven't seen a lot of the golf this week. I've been doing the cricket, but I've seen a few clips on Twitter and the socials, and there was one that I saw with Oberg with a 3-wood driving for over 400 yards. And there was a lot of run in that as well, on the hard fairway. But the thin air makes it go further, doesn't it? And it's quite impressive.
Yeah, it's good for sort of seeing those sort of shots and then seeing the number come up and wow, that's gone a long way. But yeah, I just think there's a lot of confused sort of faces because the yardages, they try and sort of make the adjustment. Sometimes the adjustment doesn't work because it's windy as well. So you're trying to factor in all these things. So it's not an easy ride. It's not just your standard PGA Tour week.
Yeah. Right. You said you got 2 outrights. Should we have the first of those?
Yeah. I'm going to go with Xander Schauffele because, in my eyes, he can do no wrong at the minute. He's just the man, isn't he? Won 2 majors in the last few months. Finished absolutely like a train last week with a 63 to finish runner-up. And here he was going nowhere. He was dawdling along at even par, and then he made 7 birdies in his last 11, no bogeys in that run. And suddenly he's gone from like mid-pack, mid sort of 30s to tied 5th. So he's got a charge on. They interviewed him afterwards. He's just so mellow, isn't he? So sort of relaxed, and then everything's coming easy to him. Golfers have these times when it just comes easy and he's not fighting anything. I just think he's a real danger man on Sunday. And with those doubts over the leaders, I think he's worth a play. If
you were playing the kind of golf he's playing, you'd be mellow as well. I think
he's a mellow guy anyway, sort of laid back Californian, but he's just it's like Scheffler could do no wrong, but Scheffler's just had a few. He's still having his peaks like the Olympics, but he's just having a few sort of funny bits where it's not quite going to plan. And he's down.
Scheffler this week relies on a storming round 4, isn't he? Which he can't always have.
No, and this week he's 35th, and he's not winning this week. So I think it's almost like Scheffler sometimes needs not perfect conditions, but kind of more kind of controllable conditions. And here he's a bit kind of askew with the altitude. So Schauffele is the one at the minute. Schauffele is the man. So.
I think it's a decent enough price at 12 to 1.
Yeah, in this sort of position, you've got to back him, I think, because he could go out there, shoot 65, and that could, who knows what might be enough today, but something like 65, 66 might get it done.
So that's the first one then. Xander Schauffele goes on the Late Tea Time podcast betting slip at 12 to 1. Decent enough price on a rather proven horse at the moment. Where are we going with the other pick for the outright?
So I'm going for the other player who's tied 5th. That's Wyndham Clark. If you look at the history of this tournament, I know it's moved around, but you can get players who've not started the day in like the final couple of groups. So I looked at the last 6 years. 3 of the winners started in 5th, and 6th. So you can make them because the field's quite small and there's a lot at stake. I mean, you win 25 million for the FedEx Cup jackpot next week. So there's a lot on the line. So the leaders can get a bit nervy, perhaps. So Wyndham Clark is in that position. He's tied 5th. He's in that position where we've seen winners of this event come from. He's the local guy. We love the local angle, don't we, in the Late Tea Time podcast? He's the guy from Denver, Colorado. He's played this in practice recently. He's got used to the clubs. And although you can go, that's a bit sickly sweet storyline, isn't it, that the local man win, but Robert McIntyre has just won the Scottish Open. Last year, we saw Nick Taylor win the Canadian Open after no Canadian Open home winner since the 40s or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe that long. So yeah, why not Wyndham Clark? I mean, the other thing to factor in this week, you look at Wyndham Clark's final rounds. I looked at his last 4 final rounds. We've got a 62, a 63, a 64, and a 65. Not quite in that order, but he's got to Sunday in recent weeks and been absolutely shooting the lights out. So what a time it would be to do it. Here, he's in the same group, 2-ball as Schauffele. So if one of them gets going, they could pull each other up. So I think that could be a real good 2-ball to watch, and maybe the winner comes from it. We hope so.
Wow. Okay, so we're looking at Wyndham Clark and Xander Schauffele then. I've heard him pronounced so many different ways. Schauffele, however you want to pronounce him. Xander, as we'll call him on here. 12 to 1 for Xander. Wyndham Clark, 22 to 1 then, going into the final round. Let's have a tip of the hat to manscaped.com, then our sponsors of the Late Tea Time podcast. If you want to say...
Forever you and me, right by my side, where you ought to be. Let me hear you now.
Thanks to Manstake.com for their support of the Late Tea Time podcast. Susanna Scheffler and Wyndham Clark there. You mentioning 25 million for winning next week. You imagine the pressure on that putt. You kind of got to get down in 3 from middle of the fairway on the 18th, knowing that 25 million pounds is at stake. That's blimey.
I can't sort of comprehend the numbers.
No. It's a lot of £5 notes, isn't it?
It's like a career, isn't it? It's like someone's really, really excellent elite career in the space of like a week. Odd.
I mean, they obviously have to put a lot of work in to get to that level, but it's a lot of money. Anyway, Wyndham Clark and Xander are the 2 picks so far. You've got a final round 2-ball treble for us to finish off this week. Let's go through those, shall we?
Yeah, so we'll start with the 4:30 game. That's 4:30 UK time. Billy Horschel against Will Zalatoris. Horschel's been in great form this summer. We saw him at the Open with a really fast finish. Now that kind of holds the key because if you look at the round 4 scoring averages this season, he's 4th. So he's a fine Sunday player, Billy Horschel. Will Zalatoris is 164th in final round scoring. To be fair, he's come back in the last few weeks. Had a really tough season after coming back from injury, and he's finding his feet again. But Horschel shot, I think, the second best round yesterday, 68, a 4 under par round. So Horschel is certainly continuing where he's left off in the last few weeks. So I expect him to get it done again this week. His iron plays a really good 9th for strokes gained approach, Billy Horschel. So he's around 5 to 6. To win that 2-ball, which I thought was fair. He's the favourite. The other two, I'm going to go with the underdog because I think there's a bit of value. You said you've not seen much of the golf this week, but those who've sort of dipped in or maybe watched a good chunk of it will notice Rory McIlroy is just being a bit kind of skittish with his play. It's like some good bits and then some like, where's that come from?
That's Rory.
It's kind of a microcosm, isn't it? What he's been doing over the last year or whatever, or maybe his career. There's some fantastic bits and some strange bits. The strange bits at the moment are his approach play. Yesterday, he was 45th out of the 50 players in strokes gained approach. So his irons just aren't there. So he plays Tommy Fleetwood, which will be a nice 2-ball.
And when you say 45th, it's not a big field this week, is it?
45th out of 50, yeah. So he's virtually last, isn't he? Virtually in the last rung of it. So 1735 2-ball. He's up against Tommy Fleetwood, who's just been a steadier. Tommy Fleetwood, he hasn't pulled any trees up this week, but he's going along nicely enough. He looks a steadier player. He's actually better at round 4 scoring than Rory this season. 46 Fleetwood in round 4 scoring. McIlroy's 92nd. And Rory's kind of in that no man's land position where he's not going to win from here. He's not going to win the FedEx Cup. So he's kind of, I don't think he's quite mentally in tune with it all. That's why you're getting some good bits and then some bits where his focus isn't there. So I think Fleetwood at 23 to 20 might get a bit more. Is worth a go to take Rory on.
Okay.
And then finally, this is right at the end, the penultimate 2-ball, the all-Swedish pair of Alex Noren and Ludvig Åberg. And obviously I said I'm going for the underdog, which means Alex Noren. He is 18th in round 4 scoring this season, which is really good. Åberg back in 83rd, so Noren has the edge there. Noren has actually shot lower in 2 of the 3 rounds so far this week, which is worth noting, isn't it? Åberg just had that one really good round, second round 63, but struggled for patches yesterday. Both of them have won at Crans-sur-Sierre, actually. That's the DP World Tour event played up high in the Swiss mountains, so they both know a bit about altitude, but I just think maybe Noren's played it more. Maybe when Åberg won there, it's just because he was playing well anywhere. But Noren, he's got more of a bedding, a sort of better body of work in these sort of conditions. It's the price, really. Noren, both of them are 10 under this week for the tournament. Noren's kind of around, it's 29-20 with Bet365. You might be able to beat that somewhere. And what we've seen this week and in the conditions, I think it's worth a play. And that round 4 scoring record, I think Noren's worth a go. Oberg, when we have seen him in, I don't know if you probably watched a chunk of the US Open. He's in great position in that, and he sort of fell away. He's not quite had the magic maybe of that. I mean, he's had an amazing year, don't get me wrong, but it's just not quite maybe.
He's quickly become somebody that bookies price short, despite the fact that he's not got a huge body of work behind him.
Yeah, I mean, 2023, he won on the DP World Tour, the PGA Tour, played in the Ryder Cup, and he thought, well, his trajectory is like sharp upwards, isn't it? What's he going to do this time? Win 2 or 3 times? Probably that's maybe par for the course. Well, he hasn't won yet, so he's not quite the kind of all-conquering, cool, confident, wins from this position sort of player that we might just think he is, or the price suggests he is. So this is all about a price play, isn't it? Noren is just a bit of value. So, I mean, I don't know their dynamic, particularly. They're both Swedish. I don't know. They're obviously very different in age. So I don't know whether, if someone can give me some Swedish psychology where like the younger man is deferential to the older man, I don't know. But I don't know that their dynamic. But it'd be interesting to see. I'd imagine
they're just competitive and they want to beat each other.
Probably a fair guess, yes. I should have done some research when I went to Oslo on Scandinavian golf 2-ball dynamics, but I had other things to do. But yeah, it's a value play, Noren at 29-20. So if you put those 3 together, Noren to beat Oberg, Horschel to beat Zalatoris, Fleetwood to beat McIlroy, you're getting around 9-1.
That's all right. And each of those is a decent enough price. I mean, the skinniest is Horschel at 5-6, but you could back them individually as well, couldn't you, if you wanted to, pick out the one you like the best.
Yeah, doubles, whatever, yeah.
So that's the treble then, the 2-ball treble for the final round of the BMW Championship. So if you want to take that, Horschel, Fleetwood, Noren to beat their playing partners in the final round, around about a 9-1 treble. And then Xander Schauffele, 12-1, Wyndham Clark, 22-1. DT's picks to win the blooming thing and lift the trophy come the end of play. DT, enjoy the final round of the golf, and good luck with your bets.
Thank you. I shall. I'm off to Anfield shortly, so I shall be back to see the last knockings, I think, of today's play. So that'll be a nice sporty day for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, good luck to you in Liverpool as well. Are you playing Brentford today?
We are, yes. Arne Slot's first home game.
Prediction?
3-1.
And you'll be stopping in the John Lewis toilets on the way. My
lucky routine. I have to have a trip to John Lewis toilets. And I also have to fist pump the statue of Brian Epstein, which is just on the high street. I don't know why I do these things. We all have our strange rituals, don't we? So
you have to leave about 5 hours early to get all of those.
I might have to come up with something different. These were for Klopp rituals. I might have to think of an Arne Slot version.
Well, you need to go to find a slot machine somewhere. Just put £1 in before you go in every time.
Yeah. Please gamble responsibly.
Exactly. Gamble responsibly, everybody, with your golf picks, with your slot machines, with your bets on Liverpool. But anyway, thank you, DT. Thank you, everybody out there. Oh, we've got a comment. I hope this is good because I'm going to waste time at the end of it. Oh, cheers both. Let's have a good one, says McNulty. McNulty, good luck to you as well. And good luck, everybody out there with your bets this week. As we always say, gamble responsibly, enjoy the golf, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, everybody.
Always gamble responsibly. Visit begambleaware.org for more information.